the children of the forest. Before the first men ever came to Westeros, the race inhabiting the continent was the children of the forest. They are described as being much shorter than humans, having nut-brown skin and a pair of large golden eyes that allow them to see in the dark. Although they are called the children, these creatures can actually live much longer than humans, with their lifespan possibly reaching hundreds of years. The children themselves prefer to call each other those who sing the Song of Earth, and we actually witness them singing those songs in a dance with dragons. The species once inhabited all of Westeros, except maybe for Dorne and the Iron Islands, and there is also a suspiciously similar race of creatures much further east, which we'll get to later. However, the wars between the children and the first men forced them to hide beyond the wall. Now, there are only a handful of their kind remaining in Westeros, with the people of the continent believing they have already been extinct for a long time. It is known that the children can use magic, with some of them having warging abilities or even greensight, but the most remarkable magical act performed by the children happened during their wars with the first men, when the children of the forest united their magical powers to shatter the Arm of Dorne, the land bridge the first men had used to invade the continent. This magical act, now known as the Hammer of the Waters, is believed to have been cast from the Isle of Faces, home to the next mysterious race, the Green Men. There is a small island in the middle of the God's Eye Lake called the Isle of Faces, and it is one of the most enigmatic places in Westeros. The reason for this is that the island itself, despite being located near the largest castle in the realm, is largely unexplored, to the point that we actually know almost nothing about it. Most of the people who tried to reach the island were driven away by sudden windstorms or flocks of ravens, appearing seemingly from nowhere. But here is something we do know about this place. When the children of the forest and the first men finally came to an agreement and decided to end their wars, they met on the Isle of Faces and signed a pact that finally brought an end to the conflict. To seal the pact, every weirwood tree on the island was given a face, and a sacred order of the Green Men was formed to guard them. The Green Men live only on the Isle of Faces, have dark green skin, and horns on their heads. It is unknown what exactly the Green Men are. They may be a hybrid of the children of the forest and the first men, but none of them had horns, so the Green Men are probably a separate, mysterious species of unknown origin. Some people believe that the Order of the Green Men is nothing more than a religious cult, formed to protect the trees on the island, but there are hints in the text that suggest otherwise, and even hint that the Green Men may have once inhabited more regions than just the Isle of Faces. We actually see a green man in Season 2 of House of the Dragon, and it looks like a small horned creature whose steps also sound like it has a pair of hooves. It also seems like the Green Men have magical powers and use them to prevent uninvited guests from entering the island. Author George Martin said that we will see the Isle of Faces before the series is over, so it probably means there will be more lore about the enigmatic Green Men in the future. Humans. Humans populate most of the known world. Together, they have formed many cultures and religions, each of which has something interesting to offer. And although we are mostly told about the ethnic groups that are closely tied to the Seven Kingdoms, like the Undulls, the Rhoynar, and the First Men, there are dozens of other cultures all across the world, like the people of the Free Cities or the Dothraki, or even weirder and more mysterious cases. The people of Ashai in the Far East, for example, seem to have no children, wear strange masks to hide their faces, and practice forbidden dark magic. Meanwhile, the people of Et resemble ancient Chinese culture. They have been ruled by a god-emperor for 8,000 years, and their cities are so large they make even the biggest cities in Westeros look tiny. These cultures are a big part of world building, and the most interesting thing about them is that the farther east you go, the stranger they become. There are tales about the lizard men and the stone giants that are said to have gone extinct thousands of years ago in the Far East. But Westeros has its own giants, and they are still very much alive. Giants. The Giants are an ancient race that once coexisted with the children of the forest before the arrival of the first men. They were always native to the northern regions of Westeros, but during the events of the main story, they have long been pushed north of the wall, and now there are only a handful of giants remaining. In the books, they are described as being hairy and robust, with their height varying from 10 to 14 feet tall. The giants are intelligent, and though they do not know how to use magic, like the children of the forest or the Green Men, they are known to use tools, have their own language, and are able to coexist in social groups. There is also strong reason to believe that giants once lived not only in Westeros but also in Essos, as evidence of their existence can be found in different parts of the world, from the hills of Norvos to the mysterious island of Ib, where strange shaggy people live. It is also possible that giant females once interbred with humans, resulting in tall and strange half-human hybrids. The people of the Seven Kingdoms believe giants to be extinct, but in Book 3, Jon Snow sees hundreds of them in Mance Rayder's army. As the army attacks the wall later in the same book, the giants are riding mammoths, making them even more dangerous, though not nearly as dangerous as the next race, the Others. The Others, also known as the White Walkers, are mysterious beings north of the wall that pose a real threat to the realms of men. They are tall, shadow-like creatures who are described as being white as milk and having cold blue eyes. The Others seem to use some sort of magic that allows them to control dead people and animals. With its help, they are able to form an army of whites, resurrected men who obey the Others and have no will of their own. In the books, we see the White Walkers riding dead horses, but it is said they can control any deceased animal. Some legends even claim that during the First Long Night, which happened 8,000 years ago, the Others rode on the backs of giant ice spiders as large as hounds. It is unclear what exactly the others want and why they are attacking the living, but it seems they are going to be one of the central elements of the Winds of Winter. George Martin describes the others as a different, inhuman, and elegant sort of life. Unlike in the show, the White Walkers also have their own language and even emotions, as we see them laughing and mocking Ser Waymar Royce in the first chapter of A Game of Thrones. And though they have not been seen south of the Wall for 8,000 years, leading many to believe they are nothing more than myth, the others are now quickly advancing into the realms of men, bringing cold and death with them. The Ibbenese. The Ibbenese are a race of human-like creatures native to the island nation called Ibben. Although the Ibbenese are called the Men of Ib, they are considered a separate race by the Maesters. They are short, heavy, and extremely hairy. However, despite looking like cavemen from the real world, these creatures have their own language and culture and have even managed to establish trade relations with other nations. And yet, they are not quite human, as attempts to interbreed the Ibbenese with other peoples have ended either in stillbirths or in malformed hybrids, unable to have children of their own. The Deep Ones. Across the known world, there are different kinds of tales and legends about mysterious creatures of the sea. They are known by many names, like squishers or merlings, but the point is that the Deep Ones are a race of intelligent creatures that live underwater but can also come ashore to influence human history. It sounds like the Deep Ones might be a myth, but if that were the case, I wouldn't spend so much time on them. There are clues in the history of Westeros that hint at the Deep Ones secretly influencing human lives, even interbreeding with them, which may have led to strange, fish-like traits in some people of the realm. The Lord of Sweet Sister that Davos meets in a dance with dragons has webbing between his fingers, hinting at his ancestors' connection with the Deep Ones. And he is not alone. Many people of the islands known as the Three Sisters have webbing between their hands and feet, which they see as a mark from the gods. There are also fish-like nations all across the world, most notably on the Thousand Islands and the Isle of Toads near Sithorios, which further suggests that the Deep Ones did interbreed with people in different parts of the world. Some religions also worship the mysterious beings of the sea. The obvious example is the religion of the drowned god on the Iron Islands, but you can find more specific examples that hint at the presence of an enigmatic underwater race. In Book 4, Nimble Dick Crab tells Brienne more about the Deep Ones. They look like people from a distance, but if you get closer, you'll notice that they have larger heads, scales instead of hair, and, of course, webbing on their hands and feet. There is much more to the Deep Ones than it may seem at first, so consider checking out this hour-long video from David Lightbringer if you want to know more. The Brindled Men. Deep in the vast jungles of Sithorios, there are such curiosities as vampire bats, crocodiles, basilisks, and among them, the Brindled Men, who have learned to coexist in such dangerous conditions that almost no other man can. The Brindled Men are described as looking similar to humans, but also having distinct traits like heavy jaws, square teeth, and flat noses that look suspiciously like snouts. But the trait that gave the Brindled Men their name is their brindled skin with unusual patterns that make the Sothorii look like animals. Attempts to interbreed this race with humans also failed miserably, and the Brindled Men seem somewhat similar to the Ibbenese based on their description. So it is safe to assume that perhaps millions of years ago, in a world of ice and fire, the human species' ancestors took different paths of evolution in different parts of the world, resulting in several human subspecies existing at the same time, like it once was in the real world. Before we finish, I would like to do a speed round where we look at races that have either gone extinct or whose existence is not confirmed, starting with the Hairy Men, a race of people that once existed in central Essos. Their hairy appearance and savage features suggest that they may be ancestors to both the Ibbenese and the Brindled Men of Sithorios. However, their exact origins remain a mystery lost to time. Jhogwin. An extinct race of stone giants that once inhabited the realm of Jhogwin in the north of Essos. They are said to be made of living stone and twice the size of the giants of Westeros. Ifequevron. Also known as the Wood Walkers, they were an extinct race of small creatures living in the woods of northern Essos. Based on their appearance, the Wood Walkers may have been kin to the children of the forest or even the same species in a different part of the world. The name Ifequevron means those who walk in the woods and was given to the species by the Dothraki, who feared the Wood Walkers and treated them with caution. Shrykes. A possibly mythical race of creatures living beyond the Five Forts, the Associ equivalent of the Wall. They are described as green-scaled humanoids with venomous bites. The Shrykes might be some sort of lizard men and probably have their own culture and social cooperation, though very little is known about them. The Winged Men. Possible inhabitants of the city of the Winged Men in far eastern Essos, said to have a pair of wings and be able to fly. The Bloodless Men. A race said to inhabit the cities of bloodless men, neighbors to the Winged Men. It is unknown whether the bloodless men are just people with extremely pale skin or resurrected beings like whites. The existence of both the Winged Men, the Shrykes, and the bloodless men is impossible to confirm due to their settlements being located extremely far away from Westeros, on the very edge of the known world.